You see, most people in this world are walking around with a misconception about how influence is created. They think if they just tell people what they do, what their title is, what their job is, then somehow people will just bow down and say, "Oh wow, that's impressive." But the truth is, nobody really cares what you do. They care what you can do for them. They care about transformation, not titles. They care about results, not resumes. And the moment you get caught up in talking about what you do, you start forfeiting the most powerful positioning you could ever have, the position of mystery, of authority, of attraction. I need you to understand something foundational. When you tell people what you do, you box yourself in. You just built a little mental category for yourself, and you climbed in it and shut the lid. You gave them a label, and labels limit. The minute you say, "I'm a financial advisor," they think they know what that means. They slot you into the same bucket as the last 5 financial advisors they've met, even if you're 10 times better. You say, "I'm a coach," and immediately they're like, "Oh yeah, one of those motivational types who posts quotes on Instagram." You say, "I'm a consultant." And they mentally file you away next to every person who ever gave unsolicited advice in a suit. Why would you ever do that to yourself? Why would you shrink your value down to a label when you were designed to be a solution? Listen carefully. If you want to be irresistible in business, in relationships, in influence, stop telling people what you do and start showing people what you deliver. Nobody buys a drill because they want a drill. They buy a drill because they want a hole. You're not the drill, you're the hole maker. And the more you can communicate the whole, the outcome, the shift, the transformation without ever even needing to explain the tools, the more people will lean in, wanting to know more. Think about the greatest leaders, the most impactful voices. Did they walk around talking about their titles, or did they talk about visions, missions, and outcomes? When someone asks you, "What do you do?" they're not really looking for an answer, they're opening a door to a conversation. But you have to decide, are you going to walk through that door with power or with permission? You see, when you tell someone what you do, they immediately start deciding what you're worth based on their perception of that title. But when you communicate who you help, what problems you solve, and the kind of transformation you create, you shift the whole dynamic. You're no longer a service provider, you're a guide, a catalyst, a trusted force that gets results. And that, my friend, is priceless. Let me show you how this works in real life. Let's say someone asks you, "What do you do?" Instead of saying, "I'm a business consultant," you say, "I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs double their revenue in 12 months without burning out." That answer is magnetic. It sparks curiosity. It gets people thinking, how do you do that? And now, instead of you begging for attention, they're leaning in, asking to hear more. That's positioning, that's attraction, that's power. But let me go deeper, because this isn't just about marketing. This is about identity. When you anchor your identity in a title, you're making yourself small. You're saying, "This is all I am." But when you anchor your identity in the value you bring in, the lives you change, in the results you deliver, you're tapping into your divine assignment. You're stepping into your purpose, not your position. You don't need to tell people what you do. You need to show them what's possible when they connect with you. And sometimes the best way to show it is through story, because story transcends labels. Story speaks to the heart, not just the head. You can say, "I'm a copywriter," and that's the end of the conversation. Or you can say, "I helped a client go from 0 sales to $1, 100 zeros, zero in 90 days just by changing their message." Now they're intrigued. Now they want to know more. Now you've built credibility without even naming your job. Here's the game. If you want to command attention, you have to command transformation. Let your work speak louder than your title. Let your results speak louder than your resume. Don't lead with what you do. Lead with what you cause. And here's the irony. The people who truly carry power, who move in excellence, who operate in mastery, they never feel the need to explain what they do. Their fruit speaks for itself. Their presence carries weight. And because they don't chase validation, they attract opportunity. I'm going to tell you something that might sting a little. If you feel the need to constantly tell people what you do, it's probably because deep down you're still trying to prove your value to yourself. But when you know what you're worth, you don't have to say it, people feel it. They see it in how you show up, they hear it in how you talk, they experience it in how you serve. You don't have to be loud to be powerful, you just have to be clear, and clarity doesn't come from telling people what you do, it comes from knowing who you are and why what you offer matters. So how do you stop telling and start attracting? You craft your narrative around problems, not positions, around outcomes, not occupations, around transformation, not transactions. You say things like, I help women reclaim their confidence after divorce. Or I help executives finally sleep at night by solving their biggest strategy gaps. That's not a job title, that's a mission. And mission moves people. Here's what's even more powerful: when you stop telling people what you do and start showing them who you help, they start introducing you the right way. They don't say, this is John, he's a coach. They say, this is John, he helped my business grow 5x last year. Now you're not networking, you're being referred. You're not selling, you're being sought out. Big difference. You don't want to be known for your job, you want to be known for your results. Because jobs can be replaced, but results, outcomes, and transformations. That's legacy, that's impact, that's influence. Now, I'm not saying to be mysterious just for the sake of being mysterious. I'm saying learn to speak the language of value, learn to position yourself as the answer, not just an option. Because when you do, doors start opening that you didn't even know existed. Let's take this even further. Imagine walking into a room and instead of saying what you do, you ask someone what they're struggling with. And then you share how you've helped someone else overcome that exact problem. Now you're no longer just talking, you're connecting. You're no longer pitching, you're serving. And when you do speak, let it be with purpose. Let it carry weight, let it come from a place of deep certainty, because when you move with conviction, when you speak with clarity, you don't need a title to get respect. You don't need credentials to get credibility. Your energy does the talking. Let me remind you of something powerful. Your gift will make room for you, but only if you let your gift speak louder than your ego. And your ego wants to tell people what you do. Your gift wants to serve people where they are. One is self-focused, the other is impact-focused. And people don't invest in ego, they invest in impact. So the next time someone asks, what do you do? Pause. Smile. And instead of giving them a title, give them a story, give them a result, give them a reason to believe that something in their life can be better because they met you, and then watch what happens. Because the people who move the world, they don't tell people what they do. They show them who they are, and that, my friend, is the difference between a commodity and a calling. Let's take this even deeper, because if you can really understand the power of restraint, the value of holding back what you do and instead showcasing what you solve, then you'll begin to operate from a position of supreme leverage. You'll notice something shift, not just in how others respond to you, but in how you show up in every room you enter. See, when you don't have to prove yourself, when you don't have to validate yourself with a title, you walk different. You talk different. You operate with a quiet confidence that people can't help but notice. There's a reason people follow mystery. There's a reason people chase after what isn't clearly defined. Because curiosity is one of the most powerful psychological levers on the planet. The moment someone feels like they can't figure you out completely, they lean in. They start watching more closely. They pay attention to every word you say, every move you make. But when you tell them what you do right off the bat, you short-circuit that curiosity. You've just ended the game before it started. You've satisfied their question without sparking any intrigue. That's bad business. That's low-level influence. But if you answer a question with another question, if you engage someone on the level of their pain rather than your position, now you're building connection. You're guiding the conversation instead of reacting to it. You're creating tension, and tension creates transformation because people don't take action when they feel informed. They take action when they feel moved, when they see themselves in your story, when they feel the weight of their problem and catch a glimpse of the solution, a solution that you embody, even if you never spell it out. You want to be a person of value, then stop leading with what you do and start leading with what you understand. Understand the pain of the people you're called to serve. Understand the patterns they fall into, the problems they keep trying to fix with the wrong tools. Speak to that and watch them lean in like you're reading their mind. That's when real influence begins, not when you impress, but when you connect. And connection never happens on the surface. It happens in the struggle. That's why when you start with your title, you're trying to connect through ego. But when you start with a solution, you're connecting through empathy. Empathy is a magnet. It draws people in, because most people walk through life feeling unseen, unheard, misunderstood. And the moment someone shows up who sees beyond their surface, who speaks directly to their need, they don't care what you do. They just want to know, can you help me? And if the answer is yes, they're ready to follow. They're ready to invest, not because of your resume, not because of your job title, but because you've become a mirror that reflects their desired future. Let me make this real. Think about a time you met someone who seemed to truly understand you. Not just nodding politely while you talked, but someone who said the exact thing you were thinking, the thing you hadn't even said out loud. That person made an impact on you. They became memorable. And I guarantee if they offered a way forward, you were open to hearing it. That's what happens when you lead with transformation instead of title, when you lead with resonance instead of resume. That's what happens when you stop telling people what you do and start showing them what's possible. Now, let me talk to the entrepreneurs, the business builders, the visionaries in the room. If you're building something that matters, your biggest asset is your positioning. And positioning is not about the clever slogan on your website. It's about the space you occupy in the minds of the people you serve. If you position yourself as just another service provider, that's how they'll treat you. They'll compare you on price. They'll negotiate your worth. They'll treat you like a commodity, but if you position yourself as a problem, solver, a result, deliverer, a life, changer, now you're not just someone they hire. You're someone they trust, and trust commands investment. But trust is not built by telling people what you do. Trust is built by telling people what they can achieve because of you. It's not built on credentials. It's built on credibility, and credibility is earned, not claimed. You don't need to announce your title to have influence. You need to show up consistently, serve relentlessly, and speak intentionally. When you do that, your name will be whispered in rooms you haven't even entered yet. People will talk about the impact you've made, not the title you carry, and impact lasts longer than applause. Let me shift the lens even further. This is not just about business, this is about your life. This is about how you show up in relationships in your community, even within your own family. If every time someone meets you, you lead with your job, you've reduced yourself to your function, you've said, this is all I am, but you are not your job. You are not your title. You are not what you do. You are a walking, breathing solution, carrying transformation, delivering force of value. And the moment you realize that, you start treating yourself differently, and so does everyone else. You ever notice how the most powerful people often say the least about themselves? That's because real power doesn't scream, real power whispers, real power lets its fruit speak. When you walk in a room and you carry peace, confidence, clarity, people can feel that. They may not know what you do, but they want to know you. They want to be near you, and that's the highest form of influence, when people are drawn to your essence, not your explanation. So what do you do instead of telling people what you do? You speak in terms of vision. You speak in terms of mission. You speak in terms of movement. I help fathers rebuild trust with their children after divorce. I teach women how to reclaim their power and own their voice. I help companies stop bleeding money by fixing the holes they don't know they have. That's not a job description, that's a declaration. And declarations move people. And when you're in spaces where everyone's trying to outdo each other with status and success, do the opposite. Don't posture, don't perform, just be present, ask better questions, seek to understand before being understood. That alone will make you stand out, because in a world full of people trying to be impressive, the most magnetic person is the one who actually cares. The one who actually listens, the one who doesn't need to say what they do, because everything about them already says, I'm here to make a difference. You are not average, you are not ordinary, you carry something rare. Something powerful, but the only way to preserve that power is to stop giving it away through premature explanations. Stop trying to be understood and start being felt. Because when people feel your presence, they don't need to understand your title. They already understand your value. Let me close this by speaking to the part of you that's tired, the part of you that's been working so hard to prove yourself, the part of you that's shown up over and over again, only to be overlooked or underestimated. I want you to know your value does not come from what you say. It comes from what you carry, and you don't have to explain that to everyone. You don't have to convince people to see you. The right people will recognize you not by what you do, but by who you are. They'll recognize your fruit, your energy, your impact, and they'll lean in not because you shouted, but because you served, so hold your head high. Stop telling people what you do, and start walking like someone who already knows who they are, what they carry, and what they're called to change. Because when you move like that, the world takes notice, and you don't need a title to turn the world upside down. You just need to step into your assignment. Would you like this speech turned into an audio script or a training module? So what does it all come down to? It comes down to this. When you stop telling people what you do, you stop confining yourself to the small boxes that others have created for you, and even the ones you've built around yourself. You step out of the role of being just another name, another job, another business card, and you step into the role of being the solution someone's been searching for. You move from noise to necessity, from information to impact. You begin to understand that your real power doesn't come from what you say you do. It comes from the lives you touch, the problems you solve, the transformation you deliver. People don't remember titles. They remember how you made them feel. They remember the change you created. They remember that after encountering you, something was different, and that's the legacy you want. Not just being known for what you do, but being remembered for what you caused, what you contributed, and what you helped someone else become. So choose to rise above the need to explain. Choose to lead with empathy, with vision, with purpose. Choose to speak in ways that invite people into a better future, not just into your business model. When you embody that kind of posture, you'll never need to tell anyone what you do. They'll already know by the evidence of your fruit, the strength of your presence, and the depth of your impact. Because the world doesn't need another title, it needs transformation, and that's what you carry. So go deliver it boldly, quietly, powerfully, without ever needing to explain. Let your life speak, let your results speak, and let your value become undeniable.